Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, public. Just as soon as Brad pulls up the slides. All right, so this is your update for March 2nd, 2021. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the national numbers are considerably less in the last 2 weeks than they have been in quite a long time. So that is a very encouraging trend. We'll see that trend through the next slides. So the next slide, please. Same with the state. I think that's the lowest 2-week cases that we have seen in months, and that trend continues. Next slide. And the same here locally. If you'll remember, at one point a couple months ago, we were averaging 128 cases in a couple of days, maybe, if not more. And we have slowed down considerably to where we've only had 128 new ones in the last 2 weeks, including 3 new deaths. Hospital is still holding steady at single digits as far as COVID inpatients, and our 2-week percent positive rate has dipped down below 5%. So we're looking much better there. Next slide. So looking at the cases per month, you can see from that high of December, we have seen and continue to see a significant drop off in cases. I will note that even though we have seen this drop off, we are still seeing cases daily, but they are much, much fewer than they were even a month ago. Next slide. Same thing with deaths. They have taken a drastic drop off as far as their numbers. Granted, it's only the 2nd of March, but I will take a 0 for the month so far on that one, happily. Next slide. The free testing is still ongoing. There's the website. It has been, I think, funded for a couple more months still. So if anybody is looking for someone to get tested and they are not symptomatic, need a doctor's evaluation, they can go to this website and set up the time to get that done. Next slide. So vaccine, by the end of this week, we should have over 8,500 people that live and work in Saline County vaccinated. Also, by the end of the week, we should have about half of the over 65 that are registered, and probably most, if not all, of the first responders, K through 12, and city and county vaccinated, which will allow us to start vaccinating the rest of those who are phase 2 eligible next week. And because there are a lot of different smaller categories and smaller groups as far as numbers are concerned, we're just going to start working down the list of those that have registered that are phase 2 eligible. We'll be able to schedule a large chunk of those each week. Something else I want to point out too is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been approved by the FDA. It is a 1-dose vaccine, and we were notified late yesterday that we'll be receiving 500 doses of that this week. We don't have all of the details quite yet, and our vaccine planning group will be meeting later on this afternoon to begin discussing how we are going to deploy that vaccine for the Johnson & Johnson one once we receive that one. A couple of nice things about that one as compared to the Moderna and the Pfizer, especially for the 1-dose, is that it can be stored in regular refrigeration. And that it is, for those that were concerned about the mRNA technology that was used to develop the Moderna and the Pfizer, the Johnson & Johnson is more of a standard vaccine, so that should alleviate that concern for those that felt that that was a barrier. Next slide. So again, if you're trying to find out what's going on, we have multiple ways. You can either sign up, listen to the radio, social media, the FAQ Friday videos, saline.org. There's multiple ways to get information out there. Next slide. So as we continue to watch the variants, yesterday afternoon, there was a report that there were 8 more cases of the UK or the B117 that were identified in Sedgwick County. which puts Kansas up to 10 cases of that particular variant. And it's the only one that's been found in Kansas at this time. And 9 of those 10 have been in Sedgwick County. So while this is not something that yet is a huge concern, I think if we continue the pace of vaccination, we should be able to keep that from really taking a foothold, but we'll continue to monitor what's happening with variants across the U.S. and here in Kansas as well. Next slide. So as far as my recommendations, I think that we still need to continue the mask order for now. It would be, in a much better position if we get to a spot to where we start having chunks of time without daily cases. And I think that's still going to be a little while. As far as, there's a YouTube video that if Brad is able to pull it up, Saline PD brought out their drones and did a couple of drone walkthroughs of the vaccination site. So if somebody hasn't been out there, to be able to see the site and is curious about how things work, what to expect when they get out there, this video will basically walk them through the entire process. So Brad, if you're able to play the first minute of it, it's about 5 minutes long. And it's on the Saline Media Connection YouTube page as well.
Are you not seeing it now?
No. There we go. There is audio. I'm not sure if it comes through with this. So I'm guessing the audio must not be coming through on the Zoom. However, Haley did a fantastic voiceover of the process and the walkthrough and what to expect each step of the way for anybody that might have concerns about how it's going to work, how long they're going to be there, if they have any type of mobility issues while they're getting through the site. And so great collaboration between all of us to make this happen. Saline PD was, I think, happy that day to have a warm environment. It was during the polar vortex a couple weeks ago that they came over and did some training and videoed this. And so many thanks to them, and Saline Media Connection, for editing and doing the voiceover for this video as well. So the link is on that slide. Like I said, it's on the Saline Media Connection. It was also at the end of our FAQ Friday video that was published this past Friday. So you can go ahead and bring it down, Brad, since we're not getting the audio for it. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
So what we're doing is that right now at this time that the mask order will remain as it has been, and we'll just go on down the road, is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've had a lot of questions here in the last week or two about the relaxing the 50% or the 30% of the, if we're going to have a tournament or something at the field house everywhere. Do you see that going away shortly?
So as far as the mass gathering order, so of course, the new one went into effect with those increased limits of 50 people or 50% capacity on February 22nd.
Yep.
It is set to expire on March 21st. And so I anticipate at this point, if our trends continue how they are, that there is probably a high likelihood that we would be able to let that expire. That's given the trends continuing to improve like they are. The mask mandate, however, I think that's probably still going to need to be in place for a little while longer than that to ensure that we get a significant amount of the population vaccinated and to ensure that we don't have a spike from variants that show up if they do.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Jason.
Thanks, sir.